It is not a lock that the Titans are going to take a QB. It certainly makes the most sense. But there's information that I'm going to share with you on this stream to where it shows that maybe the Titans should consider in Abdul Carter. As much as the gaping hole seems to be at QB, is there an even bigger hole that needs to be filled defensively for the Titans? And that maybe they should consider Abdul Carter out of Penn State at number one and not just take what many believe to be the best QB on the board in Cam Ward. When you look at what the Browns can do, the Browns can sit there at 2. The Titans are going to dictate the draft. If this plays out in the way that this mock draft says it does, you got to be happy, ecstatic if you're the Browns to get Abdul Carter at 2. However, if the Titans were to flip and take Abdul Carter at 1, do the Titans now take Cam Ward at 2? Or do they even think even more outside the box and maybe go Travis Hunter at 2? Or do you even go even crazier outside the box and go D-line, a defensive tackle, Aaron Donald clone, if you will, with Mason Graham at the 2 spot? Plenty of options. If you're the Browns, you're happy with whatever falls to you. Normally in a draft like this, you'd want to find a way to move up. If you're the Browns and you really want your guy, you try to make a deal with the Titans to go up and get your guy. But if I'm the Browns, if I'm the brain trust of the Browns, I don't really care who the Titans take. It's a dub for me either way. If they take Cam Ward and I get Abdul Carter, dope. If the Titans go Abdul Carter and I can either take Cam Ward or I can go get Trav or I can make a deal, maybe slide down a little bit with a team that wants Cam Ward. Let's say Titans go off the board and go Abdul Carter at 1. If you're the Browns, you either just rush and take the QB or you call the Giants and say, hey, yo, what y'all want to give up for the move up 1 slot to take Cam? What you trying to do? It's going to be the movie Draft Day all over again, where there's going to be a lot of moving and shaking. If the Titans shake up the board and don't go QB at 1, what do the Browns do at 2? You can paint a scenario where you could slide down a little bit, not too far. I think you got to call the Giants, especially a team that is on the clock. The owner has said GM and coach are on the clock. I need to see some dubs. I'm tired of the losing. That's what the owner has already come out and said for the Giants. So if the Titans, for whatever reason, shake the table and don't go QB at 1, and you're the Browns and Cam Ward is sitting there at 2, your first call has to be to the Giants. What you want to give up? Interesting scenario. Or, if you're at 2, do you go Travis Hunter? You still got Denzel Ward. Myles Garrett pump fake with the trade request. He really just wanted more money. So you still have framework of a good defense in Cleveland. Do you add to that by going to get Mason Graham at 2? So do you slide down? Maybe you call Jacksonville at 2. Now again, all of this is predicated on the Titans not going quarterback at 1. If they don't go quarterback at 1, do you call the Raiders? Yeah, I know you got Geno and you signed him to a bag, but Cam Ward is right here. Cam Ward is right here. Do you call the Jets? I know you got Justin Fields, and I know it will be another tough spot for Justin Fields to get off. But do you call the Jets at 7? Who's the call if you're the Browns and the Titans don't go QB at 1? You're setting the table for what's available. You can dictate how the draft goes if the Titans decide to shake the table. Now, if they go chalk, If the Titans decide to go like the Final Four and it's all chalk, then they take the QB. Then at that point, to me, if I'm the Browns, I do stay at 2 and I go Abdul Carter because now I got bookends. Now I got Myles Garrett, who just got re-upped and got locked in for a lot of bread. And now I got Abdul Carter on the other side. I'm building. We just watched the Eagles, and I got another video here on this channel that talked about how the league is copying and pasting what the Eagles did in terms of building from the trenches out on both sides of the ball. What better way to fortify the trenches? And the Browns D-line is not, I mean, it's more than just Myles Garrett. But if you could put Abdul Carter on one side and Myles Garrett on the other, and then they got 2 good tackles on the inside, that's fortifying the trenches defensively. That's going to be a thing that I think could be really promising going forward if you're the Browns. But the prospect of shaking the table, because again, Abdul Carter, that almost feels like a luxury. Now, if they had to trade Myles Garrett, if they actually went through, didn't give him the bag, and had to trade Myles Garrett, I think you have to go Abdul Carter as a replacement for Myles Garrett. But now that you got Myles Garrett back in the fold, you could look at Abdul Carter as a luxury. It's a luxury pick. Does it fill a need? What is the need in Cleveland outside of the obvious piece in terms of QB? And depending on how the Browns brain trust feels about Shadeur, maybe you don't want to do Shadeur at 2. Is Travis Hunter in play at 2 for the Browns? They had a very strong contingent, as I showed you earlier, in regards to they were there at the Colorado Pro Day earlier today. If Travis Hunter is a Brown, you're talking about Denzel Ward and Travis Hunter as your starting corners. And then you got Myles Garrett causing havoc on the D-line. That's a win. But again, is that a need? Do you need another corner opposite Denzel Ward? Now, Denzel Ward is not the youngest man anymore. But however, is it a need? Is a number 2 DB? Now, we know long-term you would think Travis Hunter will become a number 1 DB. But off rip, as a number 2 corner, really the biggest need with the second pick in the NFL draft. So then that brings you back to offense. The allure of Travis Hunter is not just the fact that he walks in as, at worst, your number 2 DB, but he can also be your number 2 wide receiver. Or if you really want to be conservative, you can script some packages where he's involved. If you're going to do that, if you're the Browns, you're essentially getting 2 players for 1 contract. This is the National Checkdown League. This is a multi-billion-dollar business, a multi-billion-dollar entity. You don't think a team is salivating for the chance to pay Travis Hunter 1 salary and get 2 players out of it? Why Travis Hunter even falls to 4 is beyond me. But what we're looking at here, so much can be decided. This isn't the sexiest draft. Certainly since I've been doing live streams here on YouTube, this is not the sexiest draft. But I feel as though there's so much intrigue at the top where you really can't slot. I think ultimately the Titans go QB. But for me, I always root for chaos. I always want chaos. I want to see these guys that have been hired to be high-level management, high-level front office executives, lead scouts, and all that. I want to see these scouting departments be put to the test. Let the Titans shake the table. Let me see what the Browns can do. What would their brain trust do? And will the ownership co-sign whatever the brain trust in terms of the scouting and all of that? Will they co-sign? Will they allow them to cook? Because that's another dynamic. We know that with the Cowboys, where Jerry does what Jerry wants. Jerry gets what Jerry wants. Jerry is the owner and the GM. But with this right here, if the Titans shake the table, so we have to root for the Titans to shake the table. We need to root for chaos. I hope to see you during the draft. We're going to have a lot of content being put out around the draft, interviews, streams, recaps, all that good stuff. But the pro day today, where's the tweet I saw? Where we at? No, trying to find the one tweet. All right, I don't have it. I thought I had it. All right. So there was a notion that the Titans took Shadeur and Travis Hunter to dinner. So imagine that. The brain trust of the Browns or the Titans, forgetting which one it was. I gotta find that tweet. But the brain trust of a front office took both Shadeur and Travis to dinner. My question is, why was Shadeur there? I know why Travis was there. Why was Shadeur? You don't need to take Shadeur to dinner. If you're Tennessee or Cleveland, why is Shadeur there? There's no scenario. Shadeur's not going to go to Cleveland, right? Shadeur is very polarizing in this draft. There's a lot of thought process behind how good is Shadeur? Where does he fit? Where does he slide in? And I was showing this here. Yeah, let me change up the angle. There's a lot here when it comes to Shadeur and what he's capable of, and you're either pro Shadeur or you're anti Shadeur. It's a very weird, polarizing dynamic. So you see here, 48% of Shadeur's passes came without help via design, aka no play action, no motion, no RPO, no screens on the play. Just straight up, 48% of his dropbacks came with no help, no scheming, no moving people, no any of that stuff, right? That would give him the number one highest rate of those passes in this draft class, okay? The thought process here, and again, this is just one person's opinion, but Warren Sharp is respected in the online analytics streets. Pair him with an OC and a reasonable O-line. 7 things you might not know about Shadeur. So let's go ahead and roll through some of this, right? Are they going to allow us to get some of that, or we got to go to his website? Oh, we're not doing that. Yeah, we're not going through that. All right, so I guess you got to watch the video. We're not going to watch the video. Don't want no copyright strikes. All right, so the main thing about Shadeur is when you watch his games, it's a lot of short stuff. It's not a lot of pushing the ball vertically down the field. That's the biggest concern I have when it comes to Shadeur. And I'm not the only one saying it. I think Dominique Foxworth, who I'm a big supporter of, has also echoed some of the same sentiments. And I think Mina Kimes has also insinuated some of those things as well. Like, if you go back and watch some of the film, the lack, and not necessarily arm strength, but just the lack of testing defenses vertically. It's a lot of short stuff, intermediate stuff. And you could be really good at that. That's not an issue. Like, that's not something where you shouldn't draft Shadeur because of that. But when the question becomes, are you going to take him at second or third, and you're not really convinced if he can push the ball vertically, that becomes the question when it comes to Shadeur Sanders. Now, we know his father thinks he's all world. He can do it all. But when you really crunch the film and watch the tape, the deep ball is something I question. Not necessarily the accuracy, not necessarily can he stand in the pocket. He's definitely got the confidence. Like, there's very few negatives, but I think the negatives that do exist are extremely troubling if you're picking very high in this draft. If you're from 10 down in the first round, I think that's a safer spot to go for Shadeur. But if you're in that 9 and up, 1 to 9, that's where you really gotta believe in what you've seen from Shadeur, and that the promise of him getting better and the promise of him having, like this says, pairing with the OC and a reasonable O-line. A reasonable O-line is something he never had in college, right? They were slightly better in year 2 with Prime, but that first year was a disaster, and that second year was improved, but not that much better, right? Certainly not a good offensive line. They got to be from basura to below average in year two. Now you're looking at, if you get him behind a real offensive line, was the fact that he didn't push the ball vertically due to the offensive line? Is that the narrative we're going to spin for Shadeur? What was the reason why the lack of verticality, outside of a few bombs to Travis Hunter and some others, what was the reason why the field was not stretched, right? It's not like they were doing ground and pound in Colorado. They were spreading the ball around, but it was very intermediate in how they spread the rock around. That's going to be a thing when you're considering what to do about Shadeur in this draft. Where do you take him? Where do you put him? So we're at the Colorado Pro Day. It was the Browns who took him out to dinner. So the Browns have owner Jimmy Haslam, head coach Stefanski, Andrew Berry, assistant GMs, EVP, OC, QB coach, all at Colorado's Pro Day. And they were the ones, the Browns were the ones. So the owners of the number 2 pick in the draft were the ones that took Shadeur and Travis to dinner just last night. And I asked the question again. Why was Shadeur at that dinner? I certainly know why Travis was there if I'm the Browns, but I don't know why Shadeur was there. I guess it's a package deal. And until they both get drafted and they play in separate cities, even though I saw a wild scenario online where someone tried to craft a scenario where the Giants walk away with both Travis Hunter and Shadeur. They take Travis at 4, where are they at, 3 or 4? At 3. They take Travis at 3, then they spin the block and move back into the first round and go get Shadeur later in the bottom half of the first round. So there's some wacky scenarios, but until they are officially playing for different teams and no longer in the same city, in the same practice facility and all of that, it's a package deal, I guess. If you want to take Travis out, you got to take Shadeur as well. Package deal. But the Browns, the owner of the 2nd overall pick, got the whole squad there. Everybody and their mom in that organization is out there in Boulder, Colorado to check out Travis Hunter. Travis Hunter was out there doing routes. Because first he was not going to do routes. But as you see here, Travis Hunter decided to run routes today. So you will see, they saw, because now it's past tense, they saw Travis Hunter on the field today doing work as a receiver. Don't need to question his DB skills. We all know that. But how can he translate at the next level as a receiver? That's the thing. And if you like him as a receiver, how much do you like him as a receiver? Do you like him enough to make him your number 2? And then that goes into, well, then how many plays is he going to run? Or is he just going to be a gadget guy? Travis Hunter, who played every down the last 2 years, certainly at Colorado, and I think he did damn near the same at Jackson, now is going to be a part-time player or only one side of the ball and maybe an occasional third down wide receiver. He's too good for that to me. I want to see him try it. I've been staunch with that stance. I've been saying it since 2 years ago. I want to see him try at this level to play both sides. Yes, I know the physicality is different. Yes, I know everything is different, bigger, stronger, faster, all of that nonsense. However, this man is a one of one. And if you're a one of one and you're doing something that has been unprecedented at every single level, including the highest level of D1 college football, then why shouldn't you get the opportunity to try to extend that into the pros? Now, again, if he crashes and burns, then you still can play him at DB. If Travis Hunter goes out there and halfway through year 1, he is gassed because he can't play every single down like in college, then, all right, experiment failed, you pull back. And now he's still your number 2 corner. You can occasionally mix him in on third down on offense as a receiver, put him in a slot. But to just assume off rip, we're not even going to try to play Travis Hunter as a two-way player, that to me is wasting this opportunity. The NFL, as I said earlier, the NFL has a chance. Whoever drafts Travis Hunter is going to pay first round pick money, and you're going to get two players out of it. You're going to get a top tier DB, at worst, a number 2 corner, and at best, potentially a low level number 1 wide receiver for one contract. And NFL teams are saying no to that? Is this not the NFL or not? Is this not the only professional league that's worth a damn that doesn't want to give up guaranteed contracts to players? You're telling me you can have a player on a contract and maximize him and have him play every single down? And there's NFL teams that are saying no? Whose NFL is this? The NFL loves to maximize these players and their bodies and beat them into the ground. Who doesn't want to do that to Travis Hunter by having him play both offense and defense? Whose NFL is this? I don't recognize this NFL. I know the NFL that likes to exploit to the highest levels. But Travis Hunter is where we draw the line? Since when? Moving on. You see the Giants, they had their full squad in attendance. I mean, who wasn't there? Head coach, GM, assistant GM, director pro personnel, assistant director of pro personnel, OC, DC, QB, everybody except the Maras were out there in Boulder, okay? They have the 3rd pick. Is it Travis Hunter? Are they really going to go for Shadeur? They've already bucked the trend by signing 2 black QBs in this offseason. Can they go ahead and get Tommy DeVito up out of there and draft a 3rd? Which will be the first ever black quarterback that the Giants have ever drafted, by the way, in the year of 2025. We're getting to the Giants still have never in their history drafted a black quarterback. But are they going to break the trend this year? Is this the year? And with all these QBs, the one to break the streak is Shadeur. And to my earlier point about the Titans and what they should do potentially with the number 1 overall pick, while it seems to be a foregone conclusion that they're going to go chalk like the Final Four and just take the QB, is there a need on defense that they're overlooking that potentially Abdul Carter could solve? The Titans defense ranked number 29 in pressure rate. Abdul Carter would help with that, wouldn't he? The Titans defense ranked number 22 in sack rate. Abdul Carter would help with that, right? 67% of their blitzes did not record pressures. Abdul Carter would help with that, right? If the Titans want to get back to what they used to be when Vrabel was the coach, they got to get home. And right now, unfortunately, I know Simmons is still there, but there's no one there that can really get home on that Tennessee front line. If you can go get Abdul Carter, who can be more of a game wrecker if you're the Titans? Is Cam Ward going to be that much of a culture changer, or can it be Abdul Carter? That's the choice to make. If you're trying to make the quick jump, everyone's going to jump on the Jaden Daniels copy and paste. As much as teams are going to copy and paste what the Eagles have done in terms of fortifying the trenches, there's going to be other teams that think, well, we could just do what CJ Stroud did 2 years ago and, what Jaden Daniels did last year. Just get you a rookie QB, and once they're good enough, away we go. They can turn the whole future right side up. Is Cam Ward in the same ilk as a Jaden Daniels and a CJ Stroud? And if he isn't, then what do you do with Abdul Carter? Because if Abdul Carter can be the game changer that he certainly looked like at Penn State and had not just last year, but years prior, If he could be that type of game changer, why wouldn't you take that at number one? Why do you feel forced to take the quarterback? Not because it's a quarterback league. The Eagles just won a Super Bowl with Jalen Hurts as the QB, as QB1. What round was Jalen Hurts taken in? Fortify the trenches. But do the Titans have the guts to do it? I know they got a new front office, and that front office, the front office before basically tore that shit down to the studs and ruined it. So now they've been having to rebuild for a couple of seasons now. This here is a watershed moment for this Titans franchise. You have a chance here to improve your defense that ranked damn near next to last in pressure rate and sack rate, and Abdul Carter is staring at you in the face. Yes, you can go QB. Yes, you can take Cam Ward, the definitive QB1 of this draft class. But is that a high level QB1? Like, we need to get these benchmarks in regards to these categories of how we classify these players. Is Cam Ward a franchise QB? A starting QB? Or just an average QB? Like, what level do you foresee Cam Ward at? Y'all let me know. Y'all let me know. Is Cam Ward a franchise QB? Is he a starting QB? Because a starter is just a starter. You don't want the number one overall pick to just be a starting quarterback. So if you have the number one pick in the draft, if you see the number one QB on the board, but you feel he's just a starter, not a franchise QB, but you have a good feeling about Abdul Carter, what do you do if you're the Titans? They can shake the board. They can shake how this draft looks with this first number one overall pick. They can really change how this looks if they decide to go different. Everyone's going to tell them you have to take the QB. Everyone's going to tell them that. But what if they go Abdul Carter? The Browns are out here taking Shadeur out to dinner. Let them have that. If I'm the Titans, hey Abdul, let's chop it up. Can you be the face of this franchise? Can you be our Myles Garrett? The Browns just re-upped Myles Garrett. The trade request was fake news. He pumped fake, just wanted more bread. Can Abdul Carter be the Myles Garrett for the Titans? Be the face of the franchise, be a linchpin of that organization going forward for the next few years, and then you can spin the block on the QB thing. But we know we got the Abdul Carter. The Mike Vrabel Titans have been torn down to the studs. You're rebuilding. Who's the face of the Titans right now? As exciting as Cam Ward can be, there's some definite knocks. There's some definite drawbacks. Abdul Carter, way less drawbacks. I would love it if the Titans shook up the draft board and go Abdul Carter at 1. I think that's the safe pick. Everyone's saying you got to take the conventional pick of a QB at 1. I think Abdul Carter is the actual conventional safe pick. I think the Cam Ward pick has a little bit of a high risk to it. But Abdul Carter, less so. Way less so. We can look at what he's able to do on a front line. Game wrecker. Game changer. We just saw the Eagles do it with a bunch of Abdul Carters up and down the D-line and O-line. Game changers on both sides of the trenches. If you're really trying to copy and paste what the Eagles did, are you taking Cam Ward at 1 or are you taking Abdul Carter at 1? If you were Howie Roseman, what would Howie do? Is that the new mindset that NFL front offices need to adhere to? What would Howie do? Howie Roseman, is he taking Cam Ward or Abdul Carter? I would put money that he's taking Abdul Carter. But when it comes to Travis and Shadeur, Prime said the surest bets in his draft are these two young men. Talking about Shadeur and Travis. Now we know he's biased towards both. He's a father to, literally a father to one, and certainly a father figure to the second one. I believe him when he says Travis. I do not believe him when he says Shadeur. And that's where we're going to have that dynamic as they get into the pros. If you're the Giants and this board goes the way it does, the Titans take a QB, the Browns take Abdul Carter. If you're the Giants, do you do it? Do you do it and take Shadeur at 3? I don't think you can. I don't think you can. I think there's a reason you went out there and got Justin Fields. I think there's a reason why you went out there and got 30 for 30 in Jameis. I think you went out there because you're not sure. If they had the number 1 pick, different story. Completely different story. I think they take Cam Ward and they live with that. But we're going to be under the assumption that Cam Ward is gone. And if you have Shadeur as your number 2 QB on the board, and you still have a glaring hole at QB as the face of your franchise, that's a problem. That's a problem that I would not want to be in the Giants. Because if it goes like this, I'm taking Travis Hunter. I mean, I would rather even take Mason Graham at 3. I am not taking Shadeur at 3 under no circumstances if I'm the New York Giants. Under no circumstances am I taking Shadeur there. And again, Shadeur's polarizing. You know, Warren Sharp is trying to build into the machine of what Shadeur is. And I'll slide it so I can see it better. Again, 48% of his passes came without help. No play action, motion, RPO, or screens. 48% of his passes. Straight drop backs. Find the guy that's open. That was the highest rate in the draft class. So that means that offense was unimaginative. That offense was not creative. That offense was just beat your man off the line. Slightly under half of his passes came without that. That's the highest in this draft class. So understand that while my biggest knock on Shadeur is that I didn't see enough of him pushing the ball vertically. If the playbook doesn't have any play action, motion, RPO, or screens, then how is he going to get those big chunk plays? No wonder it was a lot of intermediate stuff, check down stuff, because they're not running any play action to create, to deceive. These things are created to deceive the defense. And we're getting data here that the Colorado Buffaloes, your man's prime, with all these former NFL players on the sideline, they couldn't create an offense that was dynamic enough to create a better flow of offense, a better time of deceiving the defense for Shadeur. If Prime can't do it for his own son, who the hell is he going to do it for now that Shadeur is gone? If he couldn't create a system, an offensive philosophy, an offensive playbook for all that Louis luggage, including Travis Hunter and his son, you couldn't come up with anything that's dynamic to the point where you can have more than 52% of your plays having play action, motion, RPO, or screens? I mean, we all play Madden. We all play CFB 25. Like, come on now. We are all doing that. We're all doing not even a drag route. Like, what are we doing? A stem? What are we doing? What are we doing, Prime? Louis luggage, though. No play action, no motion, no RPO, no screens on almost half of Shadeur's dropbacks. That's lacking in creativity. Now you put him with someone who can cook up. It would be great if Shadeur would fall. It would be bad for his ego, bad for his psyche, bad for the brand of Prime, but it would be great if Shadeur could fall to a team like the Rams. Let McVay be able to cook up with a Shadeur. That type of player, that type of coach, that type of pairing, I want to see with Shadeur. I don't want to see Shadeur be handed the keys and be told, save us. I don't see that with Shadeur. I see him as a Jalen Hurts type of guy where we're going to surround you with the pieces. You just need to execute. I see that for Shadeur. I don't see Shadeur as, here you go, you're Jaden Daniels. Fix this. And fixed it. I don't see that in Shadeur. I don't see that as, here's CJ Stroud. Here's the keys. Fix it. And he fixed it. I do not see that in Shadeur. I see Shadeur as, hey, I got top tier receivers. I got a great old line. I got a good running backs. I got a dynamite play caller. Oh, the table has been set for me. I just got to go out here and do what I do. That's what I see for Shadeur. Y'all let me know. Shadeur, franchise QB, starting QB, somewhere in between. And if it is in between, what is that called? Let me know. For those who are pulling up, I am trying to talk the Tennessee Titans into taking Abdul Carter at 1. I don't want to see chalk. I don't want to see a safe pick. Cam Ward, as good as he looks to be, I don't see franchise quarterback even with him. I think he's the best of a bad bunch, or best of a mediocre bunch of QBs. So teams are going to jump because you have to keep taking the QB until you hit on the QB, right? Well, what if you have these metrics if you're the Titans? And you're next to last in pressure rate, and you're damn near next to last in sack rate, and Abdul Carter is chilling right there, and you have a chance to take him with the number 1 overall pick. That to me is where this draft begins and ends. What do the Titans do? Because Travis Hunter, if he's able to be there at 4 as a Patriot, I think the Patriots make out like bandits if they could sit there at 4 and get Travis Hunter, arguably the best player on draft. Who's on the big board for Tankathon? They got Travis Hunter as the number 1 prospect. If you are the Patriots and you're sitting there at 4 and you arguably get the top prospect in the draft, you have to be ecstatic. Have to be ecstatic, right? Because now you can have 2 lockdown corners. Because Gonzalez is back from an Achilles, ACL, I don't recall. But whatever that injury was that took him out for a whole year, he, towards the end of last season, he was starting to look like the dude we thought he was going to be coming out a couple of years ago. So if Gonzalez is a lockdown, and then you have now Travis Hunter, who we all believe is a lockdown. Now, if you're the Patriots defense and you're Mike Vrabel, you know Vrabel is trying to get in their ear in the personnel department about that. My corners are going to be locked in for the next 5 years if I could get Travis Hunter at 4. Who's throwing on us? If I got Gonzalez over there, Travis Hunter over there, and oh, by the way, I can mix in Trav on offense to help out Drake May a little bit with some gadgets and some packages. Why wouldn't the Patriots do that? I've seen the Patriots maybe take Graham here. There was a couple of mock drafts I've seen where Graham goes 4. I mean, I get it. He's being perceived like a baby Aaron Donald. To me, Aaron Donald was a 1 of 1. You could be a clone, but he's good. Graham is good. Let's be clear. Graham is good. He's worthy of being a top 10 pick. You can argue top 5, but in terms of am I taking Graham over Travis Hunter? I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that at all. No, sir. Not a chance. Not a chance whatsoever. This draft is so intriguing with what potentially could be done. And Prime is shilling for his son, and he's shilling for someone who looks up to him like a father figure in Travis Hunter. And I firmly believe he's correct about Travis, Shadeur less so. But with the power of Prime and the power of a subpar QB class, Shadeur could be a top 5 pick. To me, there's still too many question marks for him to be a top 5 pick. But at this point, you can't deny, in this draft class specifically, the fact that he could be that, right? I'm hitting the chat. Magic Man, it has been a while. What's good, brother? Boogie Down is in the house. Scrub Zero's in the house. Good to see the normal crew pull up here. Let me get everybody in here. Let me get everybody in here. Scrub Zero, we here. I agree. Give Hunter the opportunity to play both sides. Yeah, I don't understand why teams are ignoring the fact that you're getting two players for the price of one contract. When has the NFL ever been that gracious to have a player that you can have on both sides of the ball under one contract and the NFL says, nah, I'm good, love, enjoy? This is the NFL we talking about. My guy, Boogie Down. What's good, bruh? Long time no see. Yeah, man, the gig has been gigging. Working too damn much, but we here. We here. What I've been up to? Working too damn much. That's literally all it is. The job that I have now is very demanding. Schedule's been a little crazy, but I'm trying to find little pockets to pop in. So I had a random day off today. So I was like, all right, I could stream today. Scrub Zero, all the QBs coming out this year should redshirt, in my opinion. Oof, if you take Cam Ward at 1, you can't redshirt him, bro. I agree with you. Like I don't think any of these QBs are can't miss franchise QBs. Like I think Cam Ward is a starting QB, and depending on the situation, he could be a franchise QB, but it's not going to be purely all because of him. Like you're going to have to give him weapons, right? Like, and I think Shadeur is a notch below that, where Shadeur is like an average QB, but if you put him in the right settings with the right pieces around him, then I think he could be a starting QB. And then if you really give him top tier talent, a la the Eagles, he could be a franchise QB, but merely just because he's surrounded by top tier talent. Scrub Zero. The question is, are the Titans smart enough to build a house before grabbing the QB? And I think the answer to that is no. I mean, that's unfortunately where I think they're going to go. I would love for them to not do it, though. I want them to shake the table and go Abdul at 1. You know, those stats that I read off from Warren Sharp, those are damning stats, bro. Next to last and damn near next to last in sack rate and pressure rate in this league. You got to get the trenches right. I think Cam Ward could be a franchise QB in the right situation. I don't think the Titans are the right situation for Cam Ward or any QB this year. And I think that's why you go Abdul. Because guess what? The Titans are going to be damn near back in the same position next year regardless. Like, I don't think Cam Ward comes in and has that Jaden Daniels, CJ Stroud year 1 impact. I don't see that because the weapons ain't there. At least with CJ Stroud, he has some receivers. At least with Jaden Daniels, he had McLaurin, and then they built around that. Who is in Tennessee? Is Ridley even still there? Can he recover from what he was? Like, to me, that's asking a lot. That's asking a lot of Cam Ward. Boogie Down. I think Shadeur will be fine, man. A lot of people doubted Lamar. We got to stop doubting all these black QBs. Also, just look back at Jaden Daniels. All the scouts were saying he wouldn't be any good. Well, look, Jaden Daniels went 2 in the draft, right? Like, Jaden Daniels was a Heisman Trophy winner. Like, I think that there's a difference, right? Like, Shadeur is not the same prospect that Lamar was. Shadeur was never a Heisman, even a Heisman candidate, right? Like, we're talking about 2 guys that won the Heisman, and Jaden Daniels and Lamar Jackson, right? Like, I think there's levels to this. Like, those 2 guys came in. Forget what the scouts say, right? Like, we know ball. Boogie Down, me, you, Scrub Zero, all the people that tap into this channel, we know ball. Shadeur is not on the same level as Lamar coming out or even Jaden Daniels coming out. Hard stop. That's not hate. That's not shade. That's not being anti-prime. That's not trying to have a hot take. That's not being contrarian. That's not trying to be polarizing. Shadeur does not have the skill set right now coming out like Jaden Daniels last year or Lamar Jackson all them years ago. Hard stop. So while I hear you in terms of let's not doubt black QBs, like I'm on that type of time. What I'm not going to do is I'm not going to inflate a black QB just because he's black either. Like I think that's where we have to show that we're better than the other side in terms of we're not going to gas nobody up just because they look like us. We're gonna if we know ball, we got to be able to say, that brother's not, he's not on the same level as these other brothers. Like that, it's okay. You're not on some Kanye shit just by having that thought process, right? Like you know ball. Scrub Zero. CJ's situation in Houston was more favorable than people think. The team wasn't there. They just needed a QB, and now they gotta get that O line right. Yeah, I agree. Like the Texans they drafted Tank, but then they had Nico, and then last year they went and got Diggs. That didn't really pop like they thought, but the pieces were there, and the offense was structured for CJ to come in and cook from day one, right? And same thing with Jaden Daniels. He had the play caller in Kingsbury. He had a real number one in McLaurin, and he was able to walk in. They revamped the offensive line. That offensive line 2 years ago was one of the worst offensive lines in the whole league. And then they went out there and got some vets. They cleaned house a little bit, shifted the philosophy, and the offensive line went from being basura to being slightly above average in 1 year. And then they went and got Jaden Daniels. So not only did he was able to come in and have a true number one, he was able to come in with a real pro level play caller who had something to prove in Kingsbury. And you walked in with an offensive line that was much better than the years before. So both those situations are way better than what potentially Cam Ward could walk into in Tennessee. Boogie Down. Trappers Hunter overrated, bro. You heard it here first. Wow. Okay, let's if you're still here, Boogie Down, and I know you always will tap into the comments even after the replay, after the live is done. Overrated as a receiver or overrated as a DB? If you want to say he's overrated as a receiver, I'm willing to listen. If you're telling me he's overrated as a DB, I need to see receipts. I need to see receipts. All right, appreciate y'all for tapping in on the chat. My bad, I should have got to that a little earlier. On this, I'm using Restream, and it did not tell me that there was chats waiting for me, so I gotta figure that piece out. But all right, glad I could catch up with the chat. Glad for all those who are tapping in, continue to tap in into the chat. There's always a free-flowing conversation as we go along. So, pivoting from the draft. If you want to keep going, we can keep going, but I do want to have some other things because it has been a minute and I've been putting stuff on this channel. I tapped in when I was on vacation over there in Iceland doing some content. I was able to drop a couple of vids from over there. So I'm trying to find the pockets when I can pull up and tap in, whether it's live streams or just dropping recorded content and throwing it up on the channel, stuff like that. But Marcus Morris. He got a gig with the 4-Letter Network, and he had a lot of hot takes. And he said Nikola Jokic is not a top 20 player of all time. Now, am I here to go crazy about the take? Not necessarily. What I am here to go crazy on is where the game is in terms of sports media. This is all the game has turned into. This whole game is literally just about who's going to say the thing, who has a scorching take. It's not about necessarily your ability to break down film. It's not about your ability to analyze the game and give a different POV. It's all about what are you going to say that we can aggregate to get clicks online. And Marcus Morris, one of the Morris twins, And I don't want no smoke with no Morris twin because, you know, they really about that action. However, though, when you're stepping into this hot take thing with my 16 plus years of experience in the sports media thing, I think it's stepping into my territory and I get to have my opinion. This is a horrible take. And it's a lazy take. And it's a take that's biased because y'all forget who hurt Marcus Moore's brother and who Marcus Moore's brother hasn't really been the same. Like Markieff hasn't really hooped ever since he got yoked up by Nikola Jokic, right? Like we're not forgetting that, right? Like Nikola Jokic yoked up Markieff Morris. Markieff Morris has never been the same as a player. Now all of a sudden we got Marcus Morris on the Florida Network with scathing hot take of Nikola Jokic is not a top 20 player. That sounds very biased to me. If a old school journalist, if a old school reporter had a take of X player is not that good or is not as good as y'all say he is, and we found out that there was some ties to that player that was being shaded doing something crazy to that reporter's brother or family member, we would roast that reporter. We would roast that journalist. However, Marcus Morris gets rewarded with clicks and views and a gig at the four-letter network. What sense does that make? Your brother got yoked up by Jokic. Now you're on the Florida Network on national TV saying that Jokic isn't top 20. Bias or nah? I like to chat real quick. Scrub Zero still here tapping in. I still don't trust Kingsbury, but I will say this: his system was a good fit for Jaden Daniels. Kingsbury is still suspect as a situational play caller. I think that's fair. I think the one thing I'll say is that when you have a guy like Jaden Daniels who clearly appears to be special, so special that his mama won't even let Juju get next to him. When you have a guy that appears to be that special, I think even a play caller that could be considered suspect, as you say, with Kingsbury, I think he can even supersede that. I mean, he did what he did last year, and let's all be real. Nobody knew what Jaden Daniels was going to do last year. We thought, oh, he might be all right because he's nice, but nobody foresaw what we saw last year. You could say, I knew he was going to be good. None of us knew he was going to be damn near NFC Championship game good. No, none of us. So to me, that just shows you put a special player, and therein lies the difference. If you really want to get into it, right? Therein lies the difference when it comes to Cam Ward and Shadeur and what we saw last year when it comes to the QB classes. Jaden Daniels, Caleb Williams, those were considered off-rip franchise QBs. Nobody, I mean, some people try to jump out the window with hot takes about Caleb not being as good as we hyped him up to be. He's not going to be Mahomes, which, of course, who is going to be Mahomes? But we all had the perspective of those two guys should go 1-2. Those two guys are franchise-changing QBs, right? We're not getting that same energy with what we're seeing right now. We're not getting that same energy with Cam Ward or Shadeur, or if you want to go with Jackson Dart or whoever else you want to pull out. There's nobody in this draft class that screams franchise QB. Cam Ward screams best of a mid bunch. Scrub Zero. I certainly didn't think Daniels was making it to the championship game. And that's what I'm saying. Nobody did. No experts, no dudes who get paid 6-7 figures to talk ball. None of them had the goddamn Commandos in the championship game, bruh. Nobody jumped out the window with the take. Much like Marcus Morris is jumping out with the take about Jokic ain't top 20. Nobody jumped out the window with Commando's NFC Championship game. Book it. Nobody. So to me, that just goes in line with how good Jaden Daniels actually is, and where even Cliff Kingsbury, who had a lot to prove, and to Scrub Zero, still has more to prove. But even still, Kingsbury figured it out. Get Scary Terry open, get that man to rock in space, let Jaden cook in space. Let's revamp this O-line. We don't need to overextend it, but let's just shore it up. Let's get the trash out. Charles Leno Jr., get the fuck up out of here. Like, let's get some real linemen up in here. And all of a sudden, that line became average and then above average as the season went along. Now you're talking about a couple of good running backs with Eckler and B-Rob. You're talking about Scary Terry as your clear-cut number one. A decent now maybe good offensive line behind a rookie QB. Yeah, y'all should cook up. Y'all should cook up. But the Titans don't have that. The Titans are not in the same position. But especially as some QBs like Jaden Daniels are, there's only so much a QB can bail out bad play calling and bad decision making. And I think that's why you can't, and that's why for me with Tennessee, that's my number one mindset when it comes to Cam Ward. Because Cam Ward, he can ball out, right? But he can also make some bad mistakes. Ball security is a thing. He's got some Jameis in him. Let's be real when it comes to Cam Ward. Cam Ward's got some Jameis in him. But he's also phenomenal when he's cooking. When he's cooking, he's lights out. But he's got some Jameis in him. So are you really going to take that at number one? Are you going to take a guy that has some Jameis in him at number one overall when Abdul Carter is right there? Are you going to do that? Are you going to put your job? Because the Titans, their GM, I think he's a brother too. That GM is putting his rep on the line with this number one pick. He can't get this pick wrong. He's still trying to recover from walking into a job where they gave away A.J. Brown. That sting is still felt in Smashville. You can't get this pick wrong if you're the Titans. Scrub Zero, and I really try not to rank players all the time when they're still playing. Some guys we do, but I avoid doing so with players who haven't even hit 10 years of playing. So I'll hold off on ranking Jokic. But all right, so I hear you, Scrub Zero, with that, right? But we could play the game. Shit, I'll pull up some stats, right? I'll pull up some stats. Let's see if we could do a better job than Marcus Morris at least, right? Let's see if we can do a better job than Marcus Morris, right? Where's Denver? Denver's here. Oh yeah, let me switch up the screen. Let's see. Jokic. I mean, Scrub Zero, this is 10 years for Jokic. It's 10 years. You could judge him. Let me zoom out a little bit. I mean, you're talking about somebody that it has a 3-time MVP. He finished second, so you can argue 4 MVPs. Potentially can get another MVP this year. He's scoring the most points of his career, the most assists of his career, and the second most rebounds of his career. And oh, by the way, he's shooting the best from 3 in his career right now. This man's shooting 42% from 3. And oh, by the way, he's a footer. This is a footer that's walking this earth, giving you a triple-double. This is per game. This ain't no per 36 minutes or whatever. This is per game. This man is averaging a triple-double as a footer. 3-time MVP. And you can argue this is the best season of his career. From a guy that's already won 3 MVPs and could have won a fourth, yet this is the year that people are going to say is him at his apex. This is what it was when Wilt was around, I assume. I'm an old head, but I ain't that fucking old. I can assume this is what it must have felt like when Wilt was walking around averaging 50 and 20. When you got a footer that's walking around averaging a triple-double, and not a cheap triple-double. This ain't no 9.9 total rebounds. This is 12.8. This is 13 boards. This is 10.2. This is 10 dimes a game as a footer. Nah, bro. Nah. That boy, different. That boy is different. Okay? I don't know to say that's not top 20. And again, we really gonna look past the point of Morris twin is only riding for his brother because his brother got yoked up by Jokic and hasn't been the same since? Are we really gonna ride and just let that get off? This is a 3-time MVP, and this is arguably his best season? It's haterade. It's haterade. And look, I had to come around on Jokic. I'm not going to sit here and act like I was locked in from, his 4th year in the league when he started really cooking up. No. It took me around the first MVP when I had to had that come to Jesus moment of, nah, that boy too nice. That boy too nice for me to keep hating. Defense be damned, right? Some people, we look past the defense. We do it with Wardell. If we could look past Wardell's defense, why can't we look past Jokic's defense? People are really trying to start narratives that why isn't Wardell in the GOAT conversation? When Wardell would be the only person in the GOAT conversation that can't play defense. Yet and still, there are some people that are trying to put Wardell into GOAT conversations. So if we could do that, why can't we have Jokic in the top 20 despite his defense? And by the way, his defense has gotten better over the last couple of years. His defensive rating has actually been better than average the last couple of years. So if Wardell can shoot his threes into the GOAT conversation, so if he could just shoot his way into the GOAT conversation, why can't Jokic triple-double, multiple MVP his way into the top 20 conversation? He's already a top 10 big. I'll stand on it. He's already a top 10 big. And I say this as an 80s baby. Jokic is a top 10 big already. And I know ball. Scrub Zero in the chat. Too many teams up top in the NFL draft this year that can't afford to jack up the pick, and I don't trust those top 3 teams. And that includes your Giants. That includes your Giants. I don't know if you can't say you can't trust the Giants. I certainly think you can have your thoughts on what the Giants will do at 3, right? All right, Scrub, if this is the case and Ward goes 1, Abdul goes 2, what are you doing at 3? You taking Travis Hunter? I'm assuming you're going to take Travis Hunter here. I don't think you're taking Shadeur, right? You're not taking Shadeur. So I think you're probably going Travis Hunter. I don't know how you feel about bootleg Aaron Donald and Mason Graham, or maybe you go O-line if you could trade down. I'm not taking Membu at 3, but if you could trade down, maybe you get the Jets to trade up. I don't know if the Jets and Giants will do business at this high level in the first round, but if this is the case and the board falls the way it does right here, if I'm the Giants, I'm calling the Jets saying, yo, you need a QB. I know that Justin Fields shit is cute, But you know you need a QB, right? I got Shadeur right here for you. I'll take that 7. I'll slide down to 7 and scoop up some extra picks. That's a fair point on Jokic. He's not hurting himself and moving up the all-time list. I mean, that's it's. I'm telling you, like I really had smoke for Jokic because I like players to be two-way players. Offense, defense. I still respect defense, right? I will definitely lower a player. That's why Wardell will never be in GOAT conversations to me. That's why Wardell will never be in top 5 conversations to me because you have to be able to play defense. Basketball is a two-way sport. You can't just be a single side player. Like I know there's a lot of analytics that try to make it seem like Wardell's not as bad defensively. Whenever, and you've seen it with Luka, whenever teams want to get a bucket, they hunt Wardell. Just like you've seen it with the Lakers, when teams want a bucket, they hunt Luka. They can't play defense. All your stats are cute. All your threes are cute, Wardell. What Kyrie do in Game 7 in Oracle? Dotted him. Hunted, kept getting screens until he got that ISO and went to work and got a ring for it. Luka gets hunted every single night by multiple players on the other team. Not even the other team's best players. Just any offensive player with skill set feels I can take Luka, screen and roll. Let them keep switching until I get Luka ISO'd and go to work. And that's why Luka can't be that type of player to me because you have to at least try and be competent defensively. You don't have to be elite defensively. You have to at least try. And I can say for a fact, I have seen Jokic try on defense. He has gotten better. You're looking at his defensive rating right here, right? These are good defensive rating numbers for a guy that everyone says can't play defense. 110 is average. This means to tell me a couple of these MVP years, he was actually above average defensively, yet that's not the narrative when it comes to Jokic. 110 is average defensive rating. 108 last year. That's slightly above average. That's a little bit above average defensive rating. He's around average this year defensively, taking even more of a workload as you see the 133 offensive rating. Jokic is better than you think. Script 0. I personally still favor Hunter over any other player in the draft. Now, with what the Giants have drafted, Shadeur isn't a bad idea because he doesn't have to start with who's in front of him. I can't believe you would take him. I would not. If I'm the Giants, I'm not taking Shadeur at 3. Shadeur at 3? 3? I can't do it. I can't do it. Again, like, to me, what I saw from Shadeur was nowhere near enough for me to take him at 3 if I'm the Giants. I can't do it. It's not. Cam Ward is more of a sure thing. Neither one are sure things, but Cam Ward is more of a sure thing than Shadeur. Shadeur, you need to have all the pieces in place now. If you're the Giants, you obviously have neighbors. Maybe Shadeur could unearth something with Jalen Hyatt. Offensive line is still shaky as hell. Play calling shaky as hell. You might have a running back with Tracy, so that you might have some pieces there, but not enough to where you could just hand the keys to Shadeur and say, take it home. Commandos gave the keys to Jaden Daniels and said, take us home, and they were in the goddamn championship game. The Texans gave the keys to CJ Stroud, and they were going toe-to-toe with Mahomes. I don't think you're going to get that same result handing the keys to Shadeur. Script Zero. That is, of course, dependent on if the Giants actually would have a competent plan for Shadeur. I know how I would move. I don't know how Shane and Dable are going to move on this. I think if you're trying to save your job, if you're the Giants brain trust, you have to take a QB. And it will be for selfish reasons. It's not because they actually think Shadeur is the guy. Let me come off. Let me get this off here. If you are the Giants, you're not taking Shadeur Sanders because you actually believe Shadeur Sanders should be the third overall pick. You're taking Shadeur Sanders at 3 because that gives you a few more years of employment. It gives you 3 to 4, maybe even 5 more years of a chance to prove that you know what the hell you're doing at your job. So it will not be because the Giants actually think Shadeur should be the third overall pick. It's because the coach and the GM are fighting for their employment lives right now, and they have no choice but to take the QB so they can get employed, continue to be employed by ownership. Ownership, as you know, Scrub Zero, ownership wants to clean house. Mara was close, real close. They were embarrassed on Hard Knocks. So much so that Hard Knocks had to go to college and do Bill Belichick at North Carolina because no other NFL team wanted to do offseason Hard Knocks because of how embarrassing the Giants looked last offseason. That brain trust has a lot of smoke coming for them. The only way to protect themselves is to take the QB because that gives you a few years of grace to figure it out. And you can sell what Jaden Daniels did. You can sell what CJ Stroud has done. You can sell that to the Maras to get yourself some bail. It's not for football reasons. It's for selfish, biased, personal reasons. That's why Shadeur will go 3 to the Giants. I don't know why the Giants, like, you can't do that for football reasons. You can't do it for football reasons. So or not, the Giant, if the coach and GM have a similar record this year like last year, them boys are out. Not if they take a QB. Not if if you take a QB, you are giving yourself an extension. That's like an unwritten extension. Now, there's been some anomalies to that theory, but more times than not, when a coach or a GM more so than a coach, when the GM's on the hot seat, if you look historically, they take a QB and sell that to the owner as, hey, well, look, you got to give me a couple of years. I just drafted this QB. You got to allow me to surround him with some weapons. You got to allow me to build a program, an infrastructure around what I just drafted. And that buys them another year or 2 or 3. I think the Giants are I think Shane and Dayball are trying to run that game right now. If we take Shadeur, despite what we may really think of him in the Signal group chat, we're going to take him at 3 because that gives us at least 2 to 3 years more to cook up something with this franchise. I think that's the play. If they take Shadeur, to me, it's not because he actually is warranted to go 3. It's because they're getting some job security by taking a QB at 3. But this is all because John Mara didn't have enough guts to bail on the GM and head coach after the season. And I think that's why they take Shadeur. And you sell to the Maras. Look, Shadeur's going to sell jerseys. He's box office. He can't start year 1, but you're going to sell that Sanders Giants jersey. It's going to go platinum in the hood. It's going to go platinum in Southside. It's going to go platinum uptown. It's going to go platinum on Flatbush. It's going to be heavy in the boroughs. If they take Shadeur, that Sanders jersey is going to be heavy in the boroughs. So you're going to sell a shit ton of merch, and you're giving yourself the grace of When's he going to come in? When does he get past the keys? That's going to be the whole goddamn season of when does the keys get passed? Is it going to be Mr. Unlimited or 30-30, 30 for 30, or Shadeur? I think that's the play. I hope I'm not right. You know, most people with platforms, come on, and they want to be proven right all the time. I hope I'm not right because I don't want Shadeur just to be picked as a pawn. And if Prime is as smart as he says he is, he should also see this game of, yo, I don't want my son to be put in a position just to keep y'all hired for a couple of years when you're not focused on making sure my son is put in the best position to be best as a QB. If Prime is who he thinks he is and to who he keeps telling us he is, as we started off the stream with him saying him and Trav, him as in Shadeur and Travis are the best bets in this draft. If that's who he really thinks they are, he should know I don't want him in New York. Not with the Jets anyway, and not with the Giants anyway. Maybe the Jets, new coach, same owner, which is sus, but you can't fire owners unless you're stupid like Sterling. But Jerry Richardson, I almost said Nolan Richardson, rest in peace. But if you're able to get him to a situation where the coach cares, there's weapons in place. Imagine if Shadeur were able to go to the Jets. And we're really freestyling this one. But let's just paint this scenario, right? If he's able to go to the Jets have Garrett Wilson. The Jets have a running back. The offensive line is not great, but I think they can address that in this draft outside of maybe having to flip this 7 pick to move up in a position to get Shadeur Sanders, right? I think they have enough draft collateral. Let's see. Yeah, they got their own 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th. Yeah, the Jets would have enough ammunition, although they would probably have to give this up to get to the Giants, right? If the Giants call, offering the number 3 pick, you're giving up 7. You're probably giving up at least 1, maybe even 2 future first, and you might have to throw in a 2nd or a 3rd. Whatever pick is remaining after you take Shadeur, you have to take an offensive lineman. Scrub Zero, I'm telling you, Sandy, a QB alone won't save this regime. They need to win more games, probably 6 to save their jobs. I mean, if Mara's on that type of time, I'm rolling. But he should have been on that type of time last year. So the fact that he wasn't on that type of time last year kind of leads me to think that I've seen this movie. Like low key, let's go ahead and be real, right? The Bears took Caleb Williams last year. They had to, right? Had to, consensus number 1, all of that. But hidden beneath that, Ryan Poles was on the hot seat. Ryan Poles could have been about the paint. But him taking Caleb Williams, number 1, got him job security. Now, it didn't get Eberflus job security because Poles, sacrificial lamb, Eberflus was that. But now you see Poles was allowed because Caleb went out there and was up and down and mostly mid, but just the promise of what he could be. He sold that to the McCaskies, and he got an extension that is aligned with Ben Johnson's contract. So you see what I'm saying? Like, bro should have been out of a job because the only thing Ryan Poles has is that he fleeced the Panthers 3 years ago. That's the only thing he has in terms of his credibility as a GM. He made one good trade where he stole off on a team, and he's been riding the coattails of that trade ever since. Can you name another wise move, draft, or free agency that Ryan Poles has made? I can't. But yet, because he drafted a QB at 1, it gave him job security, so much so that now his contract is scheduled to end with Ben Johnson's. That man did not deserve that extension, but because the Bears went out there and drafted a QB, and Caleb has all this promise, I'm sure Ryan Poles went in there to McCaskey's like, you gotta let me cook with this kid. You can't get rid of me. I'll let my mans go. Eberflus, we could get him up out of here. We'll cut him loose, but you got to let me surround Caleb. So give me a few more years. Let me get a real coach in here. I'm going to go get Ben Johnson and let me line up with Ben Johnson and align with him and let us cook up because we got the QB. Shane could go in there to the Mariners and say the same thing. Maybe Daboll is the sacrificial lamb like Eberflus. But that GM going to go into the Mariners and be like, yo, you got to let me surround. We got Neighbors and Shadeur. Maybe Hyatt. We got Tracy. Let me build around this. Give me a couple more years. Wellington, or is it John? It's John now, right? So let me cook up. I don't know. I think it's a real possibility. If Shadeur goes to the Jets, he's golden. He doesn't start year 1, barring injury or Fields falling off a cliff. It can continue building the house for him in the future. If I'm the Giants at 3 and Shadeur is there, you have to at least make the call to the Jets because I think you can fleece the Jets because of the fact of what Scrub Zero is saying here in the chat. You have a chance here to where you can get your QB for the future. Justin Fields can hold it down for the next year or so, and then you can hand the keys to Shadeur. You would, in theory, still have Breece Hall and Garrett Wilson. Although Hall, I think, is coming up. His contract is coming up. I'm not sure, but I think if you're Shadeur, I would rather be with the Jets than the Giants. The thing is just prime think that. I got you, bro. There's so much John Mara should have done and didn't want to do that. We can't have confidence that. Yeah, I mean, it's really what the Giants have tricked off here. Not only did you let Saquon go, but you spent bread on the O-line, and the O-line was no better. You hit on the right draft pick in terms of Neighbors. Neighbors is a star, but who the hell's throwing to him? What are you going to do with that defense? You went out there and invested with Brian Burns, and you're trying to replicate the whole NASCAR front line from a long-ass time ago now. But what are you really trying to do if you are the Giants? I think it's a franchise that is lacking direction. And let's look at their draft capital. Yeah, I mean, they got 2/3, but that second third is a compensatory pick. Yeah, there's not a lot of draft capital here even. It's gonna be an interesting draft, man. I'm looking forward to it. There's a lot to get into with where we're at when it comes to this. Like, I'm of the belief that the Titans have an opportunity to shake the table, and I am praying that they do. They shake that table and don't take Cam at 1. They take Abdul Carter at 1. The whole draft is open at that point. Script-Zero, I think Shane's chance to throw Daboll under the bus has passed. I think it's too late to sacrifice Daboll. Let's see what's up. I mean, they're boys, right? Like, Poles and Eberflus weren't boys like Shane and Daboll are. So I agree with you to a certain extent, although if anybody is expendable, it's usually always the coach more than the GM. The GM usually has more job security because they're more aligned with ownership. So I think there's still, I mean, Do we want to go 85-15 chance? Like there's a 15% chance Dayball gets thrown under the bus? I think that's real. The O-line was fine until Thomas got hurt, which is its own problem. The Giants still haven't fixed yet, but they still have a lot of work to do to get this right. And I think that's why, to me, you can't take Shadeur at 3. Can't take Shadeur at 3. I wouldn't even be mad again. If you trade down and then they end up with Membu, I'm not mad. If they were to trade down with the Jets and pick up Membu, or who knows? I mean, Will Campbell might still be there. Depends on whoever you like as a number one tackle off the board or whatever. Or you can even go crazy and go with Tet. I'm not mad at Tet. Like if you want to go really balls to the wall and just say, fuck it, we're gonna have Neighbors and Tet out here. I mean, if you're rolling out Neighbors and Tet, you could take a QB in the 3rd round and cook up. Neighbors and Tet and Mr. Unlimited or Jameis. Jameis might give you 30 for 30 with Tet and Neighbors. That's real spill. One thing I wanted to bring up before we slide on up out of here, appreciate those who are able to pull up. Scrub Zero MVP of the stream. Total draft capital on skilled players since 2019. This is wide receiver, tight end, and running back, right? We can see all the teams here. All the teams are invested here. Who has invested the least amount of draft capital on skilled players since 2019? Look at these franchises. We're talking about the Browns, the Saints, the Bucks, the Cowboys, the Dolphins. Get a little sprinkle of the Texans and the Rams in there, and even the Chiefs in there. But we're looking at the Titans, we're looking at the Chargers, the Panthers, the Vikings, the Bears. Even Howie is kind of average. He has used the average amount. But once you look at that, there's way more good teams or franchises that are perceived to be good that are on this above average to high level tier than on this bottom below average tier. Because let's roughly assume how many good teams are in this below average tier, right? The Chiefs are good. Rams are good. Texans could be good. I'm not going to say the Dolphins are good. The Cowboys are not good. The Bucks are mid. Saints are mid. Browns are bad. Right? But on this other level, Eagles, champs. Bengals, always in the mix. Bills, in the mix. Then you have your Patriots and your Giants, so take that for what it's worth. But then you have Seahawks in the mix. Commandos are now back, fully entrenched in the mix. Falcons should be in the mix, usually in the mix, but sometimes Falcons will falcon. Steelers, under Tomlin, always in the mix. Colts, on paper, should be in the mix because they have talent on paper, but execution-wise, they've always failed to get it done. Jags, same thing. A lot of talent on paper, fail to execute in real life. Cardinals, they're now entering that territory like the Jags and the Colts, where they have talent on paper, now they have to execute. 49ers are one of the most talented rosters in all of NFL until this offseason, where damn near half the roster left in free agency. Broncos, low-key, have a very talented roster. I'm not a big fan of Sean Payton, but what that front office has done, you cannot deny it over the last couple of seasons. The Jets, again, we've been saying they've been a QB away for how many years? Even when they got A-Raj 4 plays in, crashing and going boom, the talent was still there that it made Zach Wilson appear to be competent. Ravens, always held in high regard. We talk about all those all those first round pick wide receivers that they have taken and more or less have missed on outside of Zay Flowers. They're there. Packers always do well in the draft. No one will go there as a premier free agency, so they have to build within their draft, and they have done so like excellently. I don't think that's a word. They have done well, successfully over the last few years. And then I think it is Brad Holmes and the Lions here at the top. They have spent the most draft capital on skilled players since 2019. When you look at what they have, when you talk about QB, even though that was a trade, they gave up draft capital. Tight ends, receivers, running backs, you can point to it. It's all Lions. Brad Holmes is him. I'm not surprised that Brad Holmes is at the top of this list. And if you're trying to be a GM and you want to learn and you're trying to get into this game and figure out how to ascend, study what Brad Holmes has done with the Lions. Masterclass. She goes here, how you feel about the Syracuse QB? Oh, let's see, let's find them. Big board. Where man's at? Oh, man's not even on the board here. God damn, they don't even have him as a third round QB. All right, let's see. Where's Syracuse? I know who you talk about. I just want to get his stats. Damn, they don't even got him on the big board here. That's pretty damning. Again, I think this QB class, after the big, it's not really a big three, but the big three, big as, quotation marks. I think after that, it's really just who you like. Like, I don't have a feel in the QBs. I'm still going through some of my prep. I'm still going through some of my evaluations myself. I'm working on my own, not necessarily a big board, but I'm like definitely going back and rewatching games and things of that nature. I will say someone who I really think low-key people are sleeping on, and it's not sleeping on per se, but this notion that Jalen Milroe isn't really good is asinine to me. Again, you're talking about in today's NFL, where dual threat QBs are the thing. You look at these first three QBs are not really dynamic. Jalen Milroe has some shortcomings for sure, but he's also really good. Like, I don't think we could just ignore what he was able to do with Saban. And I know last year was a down year for sure, but just in the sense of, are we really going to discount a dual threat QB who has played big stakes games? Ain't that the Jalen Hurts dynamic? Like, I don't understand how we're looking past Jalen Milroe to me. Like, the Jalen Milroe thing, early in like me breaking down some film and rewatching some tape and stuff like that, I really can't find why so many evaluators and scouts and experts are down on Jalen Milroe. But I'm early into my film study. Maybe I'll see something that kind of like strikes me, or maybe I'll listen to a podcast and somebody will put something on the radar that I haven't noticed yet or whatever. But for me, Jalen Milroe, I mean, probably looking at third, fourth round, that to me is going to be a steal for somebody. I think that skill set is too valuable to be taken in the fourth round. But he didn't cook without Saban. He didn't look good at all at times last year. But to me, the bones in the framework and the skeleton of the dude that was cooking when Saban was there is still there. Like, that dude didn't just disappear. Shadeur, well, if I had Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, I wouldn't invest much in wide receiver either. The Bucks finally had some RBs, and they're not bad at tight end either. They could use another tight end too. I mean, well, that's why the whole notion of, oh, Baker Mayfield's now good is crazy to me. Because I'm like, well, you see what team he went to, right? That's saying the framework of that roster is almost at the same when Tom Brady fleed New England to go down there. Like the core of that team was Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. And then when they got playoff Lenny to come back, they got Gronk to pull up. They tried the thing with AB, but the bones of that framework was on offense was Godwin and Mike Evans. They made the GOAT look like even more of a GOAT and to get a ring damn near on the way out in Tampa Bay. And then now Baker Mayfield goes out there and then like, oh my God, Baker Mayfield, he's good. Well, no, he's just having the same weapons that Tom Brady had. But anyway, just have been a QB away since the dark ages. Like, dog, seriously, it's a running joke with the homies. Like, they've been a QB away our whole lives. They've been a QB away our whole lives, bro. Packers just need a number one wide receiver, and they'll be going offensively. That and Jordan Love not playing hero ball. Yeah, I mean, the Packers do things so well because they know they can't get free agents there. So I love their philosophy of every draft pick has to hit. Because for every draft pick that misses for Green Bay, that's now how much more they have to overpay to convince someone who's probably melanated to agree to go play for a number of years in Green Bay, Wisconsin. That's a hard sell, even for players who make millions of dollars, right? So for every pick, so for every first, second, third round pick that they miss, that's how much they now have to overpay a future player to fill the hole of that bust draft pick. So that's why the Packers are so locked in on we have to hit on all these picks. I would take Milrow in round 3 and feel good about it. Yeah, I mean, to me, I don't see, like, I understand you can have your critiques of him. Like, certainly, look, this year with Saban, cooking up, right? Cooking up. But when you look at the fact that he's a dual threat QB who can run the ball and you could do the RPO stuff and you could do the meshes and all that stuff that has become all the rage. Like you can literally, I'm not saying he's Jalen Hurts, but I do think you could do a lot of the same stuff that the Eagles do with Jalen Hurts, be it you have an A.J. Brown, a Devonta Smith, a Dallas Goedert, a Saquon Barkley. I know that's not every squad can roll that out, right? But assuming you have similar, not same, like-minded skill set players, I think you can have Jalen Milrow fit right into that same Jalen Hurts role. I really do. All right. See, we've gone almost 2 hours. A little throwback stream today. All right. We will head on out. Scrub Zero, salute to you, sir. Always appreciate you tapping in. Salute to you on your content. I see you out there doing content as well. I'm gonna try to pull up to some of your streams so we can go back and forth like how you help me out here. So I'm gonna try to pull up and tap in. But I appreciate all those able to pull up live. For those on the replay, feel free to drop a like, hit the comments. I do respond to the comments if you're actually talking ball. If you're talking bullshit, we get those up out of here. But if you're talking ball, pull up. We can have some fun in the comment section. So I will try to get back early next week. Might tap in with another stream and or podcast episode, something to that nature. But definitely want to get back in the swing of things. Everything is coming together here, especially as we get here in the draft season, NBA playoff time. Y'all know how we do here, do recaps of the NBA finals. We're going to do draft streams for NFL and NBA. So now's a good time to tap in. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Appreciate you, Scrub Zero. Appreciate all those who were able to pull up as well. I'll catch you again on the flip side. I am the Sam D. I'll holla.